YouTube? Sorry, Twitch? Is everyone going? Go live. Save. YouTube is live. So I gotta get. Twitch may. Oh, Twitch is live. I think I just broadcasted all my stuff. So. Okay, so we're going. I'm gonna go grab a cup of water and then go ahead and get started.
All right, coolios.
All right, I am back.
Welcome back. We've missed you.
All right, we can go ahead and get started. We're live.
All right, let's get it.
What was that?
I said, let's get it. Let's go.
Oh,
let's do it. Huh?
I said, you got it.
Wait, what?
I said, you the introduced person.
Oh, am I?
Yeah.
Oh, crap.
You start us off.
Are we on the air now?
Yeah, we are.
Oh, no. Now they know my secret, Deigratia. Oh, goody. Well, that's not beyond that kind of thing, Deigratia. So, eventually, within the next, I'll say at least 100 years, we'll be able to do space travel. Wouldn't you agree with that kind of thing, D?
I hope so. Yeah, let's rephrase that, because we do space travel already. Space travel in what notion?
I mean, in the sense of, like, let's say that you have colonies on another planet. Like someone. So I'm wondering, like, eventually they're going to start growing crops on, like, say we go to Mars or Jupiter or Uranus or whatever have you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Probably Mars since it's closest. I'm wondering.
Well, hey, Venus is closer.
All right, so I'm sorry, closer, but is actually livable on.
Hey, you're talking to the wrong guy on this. I am Team Venus, and I have a slide for this. I'm going to pull up and show you why I'm Team Venus.
All right, so explain to me, why would, in the name of goodness gracious, would we go to, Venus, a inhospitable, and forgive my language, literal hellhole, where we could go to, it's a place where it is raining mercury, my man.
You have to think outside the box a little bit.
It's not about thinking outside the box; it's about living there.
Let me see what's in this. It might be in a different slide. Let me just show you why it's smarter to go to Venus than to Mars. And it's because, not many folks understand Venus. And we live in a sci-fi world where, hey, Mars is the best place for humans. There are actually other places that are better for humans to go. Right? Do you think humans will visit Mars or Venus first? Clearly, you're on Team Bruno Mars.
Yeah.
While I'm on Team Venus Williams.
All right, so I want to say that is Mars the equivalent of Serena?
No, Bruno Mars. Bruno.
Oh, I'm on Team Bruno Mars.
Yeah.
I mean, I ain't gonna lie, fam. Bruno Mars be hitting out some hits.
Hey, that's what these are two giants in their industries, right?
I mean, although they are,
Yeah.
but like, I mean, I'm sorry, fam. I mean, Bruno Mars just like, I mean, he got locked out of heaven. What do you want from him, fam? He's a hit maker.
That's right. I'm not disagreeing, but Venus is also a giant in her industry. So that's why it's like Team Bruno Mars or Team Venus Williams. So, these are the facts. I'm going to present it in a different way.
I was going to say, there's a little bit of a sound effect coming out of you, but when you're talking,
it is. It's because you're relegated on the mic of my computer while I'm recording on a different mic for the stream.
All right, cool. Yeah, it was cool. Yeah, I just wanted to let that. We'll cut that out in post.
Can you hear? I mean, can you see my presentation?
I am. Well, no, I'm seeing your setup of your planet here.
No, can you see what's on the screen?
Like I said, I'm looking at your screen now, and all I see is your Blender rendition of your planet.
Oh, okay. Let me
which is a very lovely rendition. Before we go and continue this conversation real quick.
We'll go into Blender after this. Let's finish this one, and then we go into the Blender one. We'll get distracted. And I'll never finish. I'm going to start the screen again. And I want to, oh, here it is. There it is. So you missed it up front, so let's go up here. Can you see my screen?
I'm looking at your screen.
Do you think humans will visit Mars or Venus first? That's the question I ask everybody I present to nowadays.
All right, so all right, hang on. Now, when you say humans visit, what do you mean by visit? Do you mean like in the sense of that we will be sending a rover to visit, like to go to, or do you mean visit in the sense that people will be on the ground?
The people will go to the planet. Now, I'm gonna say two different things. So, watch this. So, do you think humans will go to Mars or Venus? No, Bruno Mars is not going to happen. Humans are not going to go to Mars first. Humans are going to go to Venus first. Why? Venus is much closer to Earth than Mars. Venus is maybe a 6 to 9 month trip away. Round trip maybe a year, while Mars is a 18 to 24 month round trip. That's a lot of provisions people have to plan to take for it, right? It's much easier to take those provisions to Venus, enough provisions to Venus, as opposed to taking all those provisions to Mars. You still have what Elon's doing is making a whole bunch of spaceships so he can take all those provisions. That's one. Venus gravity is much more similar to Earth's than Mars gravity. Venus's gravity is about 0.9% of Earth's gravity, almost exactly the same. While living in space in Mars for 24 months will take a significant impact on the physicalities of the human body.
All right.
The planet works for us when it comes to gravity.
Oh, okay.
Venus has a thick atmosphere, which offers better protection, such as solar radiation and meteorites. The biggest thing about long-term space flight is the radiation. No one is talking about this, but they got to solve the radiation problem, or no one's going to come back from Mars. It's a problem. So one of the solutions they have for Mars is that they're going to build these underground shelters. They're going to build everything underground. Now, Venus, on the other hand, has an atmosphere which provides similar radiation protection, just like the atmosphere on Earth. It's pretty similar, right? Boom. That's something we don't have to think about or be worried about. Okay. Mm-hmm. Venus has a habitable zone in the clouds, meaning you can walk outside with only an oxygen mask. Right? This is the difference between Mars and Venus. Humans can live in cloud cities on Venus with just the oxygen mask. In Mars, they're talking about terraforming the whole planet. Anywhere from 100 to 1,000 years. I have no idea how that's going to work. But Venus, it's already there. It has the right pressure. It has the right temperature. And all it doesn't have is the right mixture of gases so we can breathe naturally. But we can go outside on Venus with no problem. If we if we modified our thought of immediately needing to land on the ground. Yes, the surface of Venus is inhabitable. but the clouds of Venus are absolutely habitable.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So what you do is build all these ships and all these things on cloud cities like you see in Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back. Or you just have all these blimps, these interconnected blimps that float on the atmosphere of Venus.
So here's my initial thought in regards to that. It is entirely possible. You're correct about a lot of these things. Is Venus closer to Earth? Yes, it certainly is. The gravity of Venus similar to Earth? Yes, certainly. The atmospheric notion is very true. I mean, you have not stated a fact to the people that I will firmly disagree with, but I think you are misrepresenting, sir, some of the attractiveness of the red planet here. Frankly,
go for it. Let's see what you got there.
Now, unfortunately, you got me off guard here because unlike you, I don't have a presentation to present or anything like that. I don't have a presentation to explain to the people why I'm right and why I disagree with you or not like that. So I'm going to rely on my little tangential evidence I have on me. So bear with me in mind here. You're correct that there is a radiation problem on the big red planet. That is certainly very, very true. However, terraforming is a long-term solution. And for a short-term solution, as discussed by many scientists, they're talking about digging underground, digging out nice habitable shelters and the like there for people to go through survive. You mentioned to everybody that you can just walk outside with a mask on while you're on Venus. Well, that's certainly cool. That's really cool. But do you remember all the nice, lovely chemicals that are occupying the nice Venetian, the Venetian outlands, or what those clouds are made of, or like methane and like all those more toxic acidic gases? So I mean, you go outside all you want, but you'll be coming back inside with a couple of skin cells missing. I'll tell you what.
All I said, all you need is an oxygen mask. You don't. What I'm getting at is you don't need a pressure suit. You don't need a space suit. You can just walk outside, and as long as you have an oxygen mask, the same thing we use to breathe underwater. That's all you need.
I also want to point out that a couple of you forgot to mention, just in terms of a couple of other things and how Mars compares to, say, Earth. Is Venus closer to Earth size than Mars? Yes, but Mars isn't exactly small by its own standards either. It's not. In terms of things like is close enough for it to be viable. You have feet. You have dirt underneath your feet. I'll put it like this, right? Both in the terms of part of the thing about Venus as a short-term notion is that it will be very applicable for, I would say, certain industries, but other industries will just be unattainable.
Well, which one?
Like, for example, like just large scale agriculture. Any type of growth that you will want from that place, you would have to bring in. At least Mars has a bit of water of its own, frozen, but that can be melted. That can be dealt with. That could be if we put a base next to an ice cap, the water we can make use of the water from that ice cap. Venus does not have that same kind of notion unless we're going to pressurize it from the air, which is not exactly very easy.
Absolutely, that's easy. It's all chemistry. The atmosphere of Venus has all the building blocks we need to manufacture fuel, oxygen, and water. It's all in the atmosphere.
I'm just saying, like, as a long-term investment, I would put my money on Mars. Yeah. I would say now you've upset me. You have give me a week, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and we can have this conversation again in terms of interplanetary colonization. Because this man caught me off guard. I came in here expecting a nice, lovely conversation about the Mars rover, and next thing you know, you're talking about how Mars is nice, but Venus is better. I'm like, what the heck, man? You done caught me off guard. You played me.
And follow the science right now. Mars is popular, but notion of Venus is starting to become popular. So the first planet humans visited first was Venus, not Mars. Mars is the afterthought.
Until they realized that Venus was a hellhole.
Until they realized the surface of Venus is very inhospitable. But what are we learning about Mars now? Mars is a rock, and there's nothing there. They ain't got no water. Got a little bit of water. They ain't got no atmosphere. Ain't no gas. It might be something in the dirt. It's dirt. It's nothing there. But with Venus, you can mine the hell out of Venus's atmosphere and make a whole bunch of fuel. And what I think what would happen, what could happen, I'm making this up as I'm going. You know, some of the trajectories that have been used in the past to get to Mars have used Venus. So what if Venus becomes a refueling point?
I mean, so it's a pit stop.
It could be, right? You know, that might be incentive for us to go there first, to set up for the insertion into a Mars orbit.
I mean, that said, I'm not opposed. I agree with your notion of using it as for its fuels. It has plenty of natural gas reserves, like just natural gas. I mean, hell, the greenhouse effects of this that happen to that planet makes it, if nothing else, an amazing factory for that kind of stuff. I can see a lot of mining going on there for that kind of gaseous substances there. But beyond that, man, like, I mean, that's not a place. That's a place people would visit. That's like going to the gas station on your way to Florida. You know, you're making a round trip to you're on Route 66 to California, and you stop by a gas station in the middle of Nevada. I mean, it's nice and it's lovely and it's kind of hot, but I mean, you're not staying there for long. You're there long enough to get your gas and go about your business.
Yeah, I mean, NASA has already come up with a video on how this is going to work. Can you see the video?
I can see the video. Wait, hang on a second. We want to say before we play this video on the air, we want to let everyone know that we do not own this video, and nor do we claim any ownership of it. This is available via NASA on YouTube. So please, Mr. Google, do not sue us. Thank you.
Yeah, hopefully you can hear it. It's a 3-minute video.
NASA.
We can build these already. See that? And I'm usually trying to talk over the audio, so we don't flag the audio. But look, you know, these are what the starliners kind of already look like.
Also, let me ask the question here. Like, I mean, I honestly feel like what happens if there's a failure of the base, for lack of a better word?
A failure of a base?
Yeah, like a failure of a base on Venus.
I mean, I guess it'd be like any failure or any base on any other planet. It's going to be
taking a lot of people on that, a lot of people there, you know?
Well, you know, this is just the first one. It's not, you know, a colonization. But, you know, there's a lot of people there. You send a whole bunch of these there. Just like you're going to do tomorrow. Same build-up strategy. Right? So this is the notion to get to this planet, to study it from the atmosphere.
Although I do feel like as though as a fueling station, there's value to that. I am very curious to see what we want to go with that. That's actually, I feel like that's a great idea.
Yeah, so back in the day, that was one of the ways to get to Mars was a gravity assist from Venus.
Yeah, usually it's a slingshot, basically.
Yep. Look, you see how easy that was? Man, we can do that right now, dude. We got everything we need to do all that right now. But we're choosing to invest money in Mars just because that's what we want to do right now. So Venus is the better option.
I mean, it sounds to me that you was a hater.
I'm just an engineer, man. I do. I'm like, hey, let's do the easy thing first. There's no reason to make it harder than necessary.
I mean, true that. But I mean, you're still a hater.
Well, hey, you brought it up. You was asking all this stuff. I wasn't even intending to go into it. It's just you brought it up.
Here's my goal. I was intending to segue into that, and because I was going to say, well, how are your feelings on Saturn?
Saturn's awesome.
Huh?
Saturn's awesome. So what you're doing? You're bringing up the other planet that is the most hospitable for humans, which is Titan, which is a moon of Saturn.
Hmm. I was actually bringing up Saturn because I saw that you made a lovely object in Blender.
Oh yeah. So this thing here is, I made so many planets today. I got it on cycles rendering, so it does that. You can put it on Eevee for a few minutes.
Oh, that's a pretty cool effect. It reminds me of those older school video games.
Yeah, it doesn't display it properly in Eevee. Eevee is a runtime renderer, but it allows me to move with all those dots. So yeah, I've been making planets all day, just trying to understand node-based editing. So you can see some of my nodes here, down here, and building my these are basically shaders. Using to make different textures. So I was exploring these today.
So this is was this intended to be Saturn, or was it just like a random planet you decided to play around with?
I started out as Mars, and then I added a moon, and then I added rings, then I added different clouds and stuff. So this is how I started out. Oh, I should say. And I really liked my cloud version. Was the best one. I really liked that. I should have just made renders and showed you those.
I mean, I think that's a good start at the very least. You said you've been working on this for how long now?
I think today. It might have been just today. It might have been 2 days. It might have been 2 days. Okay, why aren't any of my textures showing? Because I'm not in render mode. Alright, so this says Mars-like planet. Alright, so here's my atmosphere. You see a little tiny glow around it. And then here's the cloud layer. Alright, so this is one of the better ones I had from earlier today. And then I started adding in different stuff. Let's see. There's an Earth-like planet I made. You see the Earth and a moon.
Well, you weren't joking about an Earth-like planet. It looks just like Earth.
Yeah, I got some weird atmosphere. I got a toxic atmosphere around it.
So just like Earth, huh?
Yep. Just like Earth. I cut the atmosphere off. You can see the clouds in there. So yeah, just messing around with this today.
I gotta say, it's pretty impressive, bud.
Thank you.
So this is this just from meddling around with Blender and its shaders and the like?
That's all I'm doing. I'm just making shaders. You know, here are the primitives. It's just a whole bunch of spheres. It's like sphere on top of sphere on top of sphere. Nothing more complicated than that. And then a sunlight. That's it. 3 spheres. No, 4, including the moon.
So it really does go to show off just kind of how how effective shaders and textures are used to create kind of realistic effects, and how you don't really need to be like an expert 3D modeler, but rather clever usage of shaders and can create a similar to the same effect.
Yep.
just good texture mapping is like here.
Yeah, and
And
then
I want out to any particular like 3D developers or game designers and like. 3D models ain't the end all be all. You know, you can have a simpler model while still having great shaders to kind of make up for it.
Yep. You know, using bump maps. You know, increasing that. I don't know if you can tell any difference there. That's the moon. Of course, you're not going to see me change with that one. Just change the bump here. We'll give it more detail. Can you see it changing? I go from one extreme of the bump, and like I'm adding like, you know, texture to it, as opposed to making it really flat.
I'd say it makes it almost more cloudy versus more detailed.
Yeah, but you combine that with other stuff, and it just makes it rigid. So you can see like, you know, height and stuff as I go in. You start to see it. And I can really make it pop by increasing the distance and make it jazzy.
And that's the power of it. That's the ability right there, you know.
So just getting familiar with all those items. So it's been fun. And of course I've been working on the spaceship. That one's tough because I'm watching a tutorial, but he's going at like 4x speed, 4x speed. So I'm slowing it down to quarter speed, and it's still fast.
Well, yeah, I guess that's what happens when you know what you're doing, you know, like when you're an expert and whatnot, and like you just like bam, 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 and hammer that out.
No, he sped the video up and he's just talking over it. So it's literally going at 4x speed, and he's just talking over it. So I'm trying to see what he's doing. And what it is, what folks are doing, they do these sped up versions and talk to it. And he said, hey, get my Patreon, you can get the full tutorial.
Well, yeah.
So, yeah, that's what I've been working on, man. So this, and then, what else I got in here? Recent. Oh, I really found this really cool Star Wars one. I didn't make this.
It's like Coruscant or Tatooine or something like that, huh?
No, this is a spaceship. The 10-4. Remember this one?
Yeah, show it again.
It's rendering. Oh gosh, 128. It's never gonna render. Who put that there? 500. What was I thinking?
You put a lot of detail into this. I want to hear you. You put a lot of detail into it. I see.
Let me go back to the simple shading. That's the type of stuff that will crash a computer.
Oh no! So like, well, I guess the show. Hey, hello everyone. If you want what happened to the show, Deigratia was trying to render some stuff, and next thing you know, it became. Next thing you know, we end up just destroying his computer. Like his entire hard drive is fried and whatnot. I don't know what happened.
All right, I got it back. You can see the 10-4. From Star Wars.
Okay, there we go.
It's a really nice model. I found online. I think I'm going to make a space movie. Just go find some free models and animate them and just make something.
I mean, you could actually. Blender is used for small shorts and animated videos and like.
Yeah, just find a few things. And
I was actually thinking something, but you know, since Star Wars Legacy is since apparently Disney themselves have basically said, yes, Star Wars Legacy is Legends or Legends is non-canon. I mean, I say go for it. Like, just do you. Like, might as well take that the canonicity there and just kind of roll it off into whatever you want it to be.
Yeah, I'm getting there. One of my next things to learn about Blender is, you see all these different packages in here? So you got the modeling layout, right, for doing 3D modeling. And then you got sculpting. This is not my thing, but you know, for artists who sculpt, you get all these sculpting tools and working with clay and stuff. I don't even know how to use it, right? But it's so cool. How do I I'm just pushing buttons. I'm just doing nothing. So, but this whole sculpting tool by adding clay and moving stuff. There it is. See how I'm morphing it?
Hmm.
So that's the sculpt tool. It's like easily morphed. This is how ZBrush works. So it got something for ZBrush, and then this whole UV editing space. Right, those are all the textures. Like for folks who are who build complex textures, you can go in here and manage and edit all of that. Texture paint, right? You can build your own. There's a lot of TV shows now that use various ways to they're hand drawn textures, and it's very cool on the look that they have, right? So they got a whole component for that, and then the shading thing is what I was learning today is building like um, physics-based shaders and stuff. So I'm building those from scratch. And then compositing, which is the movie editor. I think I broke it again because it's not responding to anything.
Way to go, Dave. Way to go.
But it's such a powerful tool, and it allows so many different type of individuals who use different tools to work in this one space. And what I see Blender only doing is like improving those tools to work better. Right now they're clunky, but they're changing so rapid that they're gonna be solid within a year. All of them. They're gonna compete with all the major tools out there within a year.
Well, I wouldn't put it past them, frankly, fam. I wouldn't put it past them. Part of it's, I think certain places certain other places need some a proper competition, proper opposition. What has been the standard nowadays has been and we talked about this before on the show is certain 3D models tools like from like 3ds Max and Maya, who are owned by the same company. Frankly, all of those are it's just the same thing. And there needs to be competition in that space to kind of guide the industry forward.
Yep.
But I'll say at that there. But speaking of space station, spaceships, D, I was going to say speaking of Mars from before, didn't some interesting stuff happen over the course of the last 2 and 3 weeks? Don't you think? In terms of space.
So Mars is the only planet inhabited by robots. It's the coolest thing. So the latest.
That's a good way of putting it, right there.
Totally inhabited, totally by robots. Hey, people talk about the robot uprising. It's already here. They already colonized some planets. So we already in the dust here, literally. So what's happening? What's happening on Mars is we're on like Sol 60, like 60 days Mars days. That Perseverance is a new Mars rover, and what Perseverance took to Mars with it was a helicopter called Ingenuity, and Ingenuity just finished its 4th flight on Mars a few days ago, about 2 days ago. So this is the first time that humans have ever flown a powered aircraft on another planet, and it's amazing. It's an amazing accomplishment. I'm going to pull up some video of it. While I talk about it.
I mean, I just personally think it's incredibly fascinating to think about. Not even 100 years ago, actually about 100 and 120 years ago, human flight was considered impossible, like a pipe dream, if you will. And now, not only we're flying stuff on a whole other planet. It's honestly quite astounding when you think about it.
Absolutely, and you bring up a good point. What they did with Ingenuity is they attached a piece of the first aircraft to fly. They just cut a little piece of fabric and attached it to Ingenuity as part of the first flight on Mars. They brought that history to this planet with them to have that there. So they absolutely brought a piece of the aircraft that the Wright brothers built and placed it in Ingenuity. And it's now on Mars. You can see it, the helicopter flying.
"52 seconds later."
So yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I'm also amazed by the quality of the pic here. It doesn't feel. It funnily enough does not feel like an alien world to me.
I know, because that's how much you and I have been, entrenched with the knowledge, right? Where we grew up with regular pictures and videos from the planet. That was part of our everyday life, right? So hence this dialogue about us going to Mars first. We just grew up on that notion that Mars was the next place we're going. Period.
I mean,
right? So I mean, hey, it's only natural for a lot. I mean, we have at least 4 generations of education of at least 4 generations of the notion of like this is our next planet we're colonizing. So it's ingrained in our society.
I mean, well, you see pictures like this, and you see the work we've already done forward here, man. I mean, can you help it? Are you surprised?
Yeah, I know.
I mean, like, shoot, you couldn't get photos and pictures and videos like this from Venus.
I know. Absolutely. That's why we need to go back to Venus soon. And that's why there's a lot of plans from NASA to go to Venus soon. Because what they're doing on Mars, there's like, we can absolutely do this, for a fraction of the price of going to Mars. So Venus is becoming a hot topic at NASA now.
Speaking of NASA, that reminds me, they have a new partnership with a certain company ran by a certain Elon Musk.
Yep. So Elon Musk and SpaceX there was a competition for the next planned flight of getting humans to the moon, and the contract was awarded to Elon Musk and SpaceX. So they beat out Blue Origins, they beat out another competitor, because they were doing it at a fraction of the cost. Like the other ones were talking about billions and billions of dollars, where Elon Musk had it down to hundreds of millions of dollars.
So, now, how much of that money do you think is like Elon himself subsidizing?
Currently, right now, the SpaceX is not profitable, but it will be profitable really soon. Once they start mass producing these Starliners, that's when it's going to start, because the cost of doing spaceflight is going to be so cheap for him that he's going to be able to charge a lot of money, which will still be competitive compared to the other entities. But he's going to eventually bring down the cost of manufacturing significantly. He's pumping out he's going to be pumping out Starliners like every 2 weeks. A new spaceship, dude.
That'd be fascinating right there. It's honestly kind of just insane that like this is something here, bud.
Say it again.
I said this is pretty intense, man. This is we're about to see them beginning to pick up speed. Not only SpaceX got that big contract from NASA, didn't they have a couple of astronauts come down to Earth not too long ago?
Yeah, maybe just a few days. It was Crew Dragon 1. They just returned to Earth. Crew Dragon 2 was there. It just got there maybe I think at the beginning of the week, where we had 2 spaceships docked. Two spaceships. It's actually 3, because there was a Russian Soyuz there. But that's where we get into. Like, we're like sending them up like every week, every 2 weeks. Like, boom, we're filling up the space station and all the ports. So that thing is getting full up there.
It's it's an interesting problem to have nowadays. I mean, when you real talk, it really is. It's an interesting problem to have.
Yeah.
At one point, At one point, there was nothing. It was just really quiet. Versus nowadays, is actually we're beginning to really see it now, which is, in my opinion, really awesome.
Yeah, I was watching the docking the other day, and there's a picture where you can see both of them docked.
Now, another question I wanted to ask you, Bud, is that of course, SpaceX is not very profitable, just from simple nature, But what are some if you're the inspiring, like I understand that going into space is not going to be a poor man. It's like something you can do in your closet in your garage or something like that. This is going to take some real investment capital, some real engineering, some real kind of like some huff put behind it, right?
Say that again. Rephrase that.
I was going to say that going into space is not something that's done for it's not something you can just space travel is not something you can just redesign and invent in your shed in the backyard. It takes a lot of technology, time, energy, effort, money, and And I was wondering,
it's a yes and a no.
No?
It's a yes and a no. Space travel, getting into space, somewhat, but the hobbyist rocket person, they are doing some amazing things. I'm seeing people launching rockets from school into space. They'll launch a camera up into space and they'll come back down. We got high schools and colleges doing this now. They're not putting a man in orbit. They're not putting a satellite in orbit, but they can get stuff into space and back in a fairly short amount of time. So, but the complexity of the things you're talking about on a SpaceX notion, it's not a backyard type thing right now. But what's happening? There are a lot of organizations entering space flight. China just launched a space station.
That's true.
They're like, you know what? We're going to build a space station, and it'll probably be built within 2 or 3 years, right? When China put their mind to something, boy, they do not mess around. 1 billion people population, they can move stuff fast. Same with India. India attempted to land a rover on the moon, and it was unsuccessful. But the fact that they were able to do it at a fraction of the cost of what Americans can do, and in a shorter amount of time than what Americans done, it's changing very rapidly. So yeah, it's not in the garage type right now, but give it 10, 20 years, dude. I'm thinking college and universities are going to be sending stuff to orbit. Real soon. Because the cost is coming down, the capability is becoming affordable. And Elon, SpaceX are proving that with what they're building. They're building low cost solutions. And eventually, those designs and techniques are going to get out into the public, and people are going to mimic that and build low-cost solutions. Kind of like how I treat virtual reality and augmented reality. I build it at a very high level in a very expensive way, but I'm also able to translate that technology into low-cost solutions.
Mm-hmm. Now, that's going to be interesting going in the next couple of years here.
Yeah.
Because my imagination is what happens is when it comes to almost any big time industry, especially if it's new, it's government application first, and then becomes the notion of the commercial sector finding some usage for it, and eventually growing out from there. That's what happened with things like, say, radio, for example. That radio was very much a government institution used for purposes in the war, for the First World War. But then, as it got introduced to the consumer sphere, it became more and more, until eventually radio by the 1940s is almost ubiquitous. You know how people talk about how every house needs to have at least internet today. People talk about that's how every house needed to have radio. Every house needed a radio back in the 1940s. This is just something you had to have. Every house itself. Not every house needs a phone. How do you operate without a phone? It's going to be interesting to see how society and how we're going to go through and redesign a lot of our current structures with the influx of space. But I guess what I'm also trying to think of is me and you, we're very much people who enjoy just space for the sake of space, we look up in the sky and we think to ourselves, you want to go there, you want to see what's out there, you want to, whether it be aliens or just another planet or something of the sort. Me and you are the type of people who just want to go out there and see it, fair enough. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Yep.
But at the same time, that's not curiosity and the belief and desire to go to space ain't enough in of itself. There has to be a material purpose for it,
Yeah.
And so we actually discussed a little bit of that material purpose earlier today in the show in terms of Venus. But for the last couple of minutes of the show, I wanted to ask you, D. What your thoughts on like the commercialization of space? For I know some people don't like to think of the commercialization of space, but I personally am quite fascinated by the topic. How do we go through thinking? How do we go through these kind of things with a new thought of how to make space like not even just a place to live, but just a place to just an area for just another area. You ever heard that song Rocket? I'll get like let me end my rant with this. You ever heard that song Rocket Man?
Remind me of it.
It's a song by Elton John, right? And one thing that always reminds me of it is just that I think it's like his signature song, but the one thing about it is like like going into space in that song is just a thing you do. There's no glory to it. There's no wonder to it. You're not special or anything like that. Going to space is basically like it's a job. You do it 5 days out of the week, 9 to 5. You go into space, you do some work there, and you come home.
Yeah.
Whatever. And I'm wondering, like, I'm just sitting here thinking about that. Like, what do you see that as? And when do you see that as?
So the commercialization of space is going to happen. The first thing, the way it's going to be commercialized is for raw materials. That is why the space race is happening now, because we're very close to collecting raw materials from space and bringing those back to Earth. And Elon talks about going to Mars, but what his real mission is collecting raw materials so he can sell it back here on Earth, right? So he's working to be the first trillionaire, and the way we're going to get our trillionaires are through the commercialization of space, collecting raw materials, science, new information, new data. That's what's going to happen soon. So first it's going to be drones and robots. It's going to be automated systems. And then once we solve the problem that I was mentioning earlier, which is the radiation problem, then we'll send humans out for a long term, right? Even the space station, still experiences radiation problem, but it's still pretty close. It still receives protection from the Earth's atmosphere. As opposed to being in deep space. Deep space is a lot more dangerous than being in low Earth orbit.
Well, I mean, I imagine like the first thing people will send out are things like drones and the like, right? Like a robot is cheap. It doesn't need protection from radiation, doesn't need a brake or anything like that. You can ship that up there, have it go on, smack some stuff up, and then bring it home with no problem.
Yep,
as long as it has enough fuel.
Yeah, so those will be the first things we start to see capitalizing on bringing stuff back. I mean, we already got things going to asteroids coming back. We got stuff that comes from comets. We visited comets. We've gone to our moons before. So we're getting to that point and exploring various environments in the solar system with probes. So the next step is to start bringing that stuff back.
I think it would be a fascinating thing to do. I mean, I'm sure that people are interested. No one's really interested in soil samples, but they are interested in what's the word I'm looking for here? They're not interested in soil samples, but they are interested in gold samples and raw material samples. I mean, you're not going to discover oil on Mars. That just doesn't make sense, frankly. But
What you want to see? You want to see a methane lake?
Huh?
You want to see a methane lake?
I mean, if you go down to Venus, then yeah, that's an interesting notion right there.
This is what I'm talking about, Titan. We've been to Titan. So here's the video footage of landing on Titan. This is one of the moon Saturns. This is actual footage from the probe. Right. So we're going to these. We're going to planets. We're putting hardware on planets. This is a moon, but it's probably the size of Mars. Right? Can you believe that? We're like landing stuff on moons around Saturn, dude. You get actual touchdown. But yeah, I mean, this is another habitable, another planet that they think is habitable for humans because it rains. It has a similar ecosystem of Earth where it rains, it snows, and all that. But the makeup of these things are methane based as opposed to water based.
Mm-hmm.
But because there are seasons, and it has seasons like Earth. They're like, this could be another Earth-like planet. This is actual footage from another planet. Have you seen this one?
I have not.
Right. So we're out there. We're out there doing stuff. And they're talking about sending one of the reason important things about testing flight on Mars is because they want to send these powered aircraft to other planets. Titan is one of the planets they have been theorizing sending powered vehicles to. Venus is another planet that they've been talking about sending powered vehicles to because of the atmosphere. They can get stuff to float on those atmospheres really well, and you won't need a lot of power. Unlike Mars, it has a thin atmosphere, so it's hard to make things fly in that atmosphere. So if we can get to work on Mars, we can send these things to all sorts of planets and fly around. This is one of the reasons why there's a helicopter on Mars.
Yeah, it seems so close, but yet so far away in its own right,
It's going fast, man. It's moving fast.
That's a really interesting question. I mean, I think will we see that by the end of the decade? I mean, the end of the century, though,
Absolutely.
You think so?
What part?
Like just the notion of even having a man. I mean, having a man on Mars. I think we'll see we'll see within the next decade. We'll see not within the next decade, but within the next century. By the time 2100 comes around, I'm sure you're going to see a man on Mars. See a man on Mars. What I mean is having him stay.
Yeah.
That's going to be the key question here, and I don't know about that.
Yeah.
I would love to see him. I would love to see them stay. But then it becomes a fascinating kind of thing there,
This is a video of the Cassini probe flying through the rings of Mars. Hold on, is that it? No, this isn't it. That's an animation of it. Well, take a look at it real quick. So what I'm looking for is the video of us flying a probe through the rings of Saturn. Right, so this is a recreation of it, what it looked like. And this is the probe that launched the one that you saw that landed on Titan. It was on Cassini.
Are these the actual probes, or these are like 3D model? Naturally they're like little bits,
Yeah, this is the recreation of it. But what I'm looking for is a video of it, so you can see what it looks like flying. Video of Cassini crashing into Titan. So there it is. I think that's the actual footage. Yeah. Was that it? Okay, yeah, this is it diving through the rings of Saturn. And then it breaks up at the end. So it's just getting closer and closer to these rings. But that's how close it was to the rings. It went through them, bro. So I say all this is that we're going to be there sooner than you think. All the things you're talking about are definitely going to happen within your lifetime.
I look forward to seeing it, but maybe I'm just a skeptic. Do I agree it's going to be within a century? Yeah. Is it going to be in my lifetime? Well, let's assume that if I make it to 2094, then I guess that will be my lifetime, wouldn't it? I would have made it all the way there.
Yep. So Mars will happen soon. I do believe Venus will happen first because I think something's going to happen, and then it's going to be something tragic is going to happen because we're trying to do some stuff that we shouldn't do. Like the thing, what was that movie when Mark got stuck on the planet?
The Martian.
Yeah, that's going to happen, and then we're like, no, we're going to go to Venus instead.
I mean, and then what? Like you do realize that at least in The Martian, he was able to survive on the surface of the planet, and it was it wouldn't have been the Venusian, because in the Venusian they would die. They would just crash on the planet and then straight up die.
Man, that was all fiction, man. There's no way a human is going to survive on the surface of Mars. Not going to happen. Not. Let me phrase it. Not as depicted in that movie.
I will say that the guy who wrote that movie did put a lot of painstaking research in it.
Yeah, no, that's not happening. The science behind that is bogus. There's no way that there's not enough, because plants need all these other microbes and organic and all these other parts of life, bacteria. None of that's in Mars dirt. So that's right there out the gate is why it's false. It's why it's fiction. I mean, why it's fantasy? Because they don't have all the organic chemistry that we have in our dirt. So, yeah, we can bring that stuff there, but he didn't do that in the movie. He just pulled out some poop and put it in the ground.
I mean, is those bacteria not in your body? Shoot, one of the things I always wonder about is like how much of Earth bacteria is even on Mars right now to begin with,
Right. Well, they haven't found any yet. So that's some of the things that they're studying.
Well, what I mean by that is like this, right? So we're constantly going to Mars,
Yep.
Constantly. So my thought is like, as time goes along, wouldn't a bunch of bacteria that are on us, like just, and by on us, I mean like on like the spaceships and whatnot, and whatever have you, wouldn't those get carried over to Mars anyway?
If there are, so NASA has a real stringent decontamination process. Now, it probably doesn't capture all of it, but they really stress not sending any bacteria from Earth to Mars. So there's a process in place to minimize that. They probably don't get them all. And then, you got solar radiation, you got the travel through space, hospitable environment. So the logic, and I'm saying it's right, the logic is by the time, after decontaminating, by the time the thing is traveled through space with all that radiation, that most or all of it is gone by the time it reaches the planet.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I'm just thinking, I look at it like the sense of strep throat,
Mm-hmm.
Like, it kills 99.9% of all bacteria. Like your hand sanitizer kills 99.9% of all bacteria. So there's an entire person out there. It is entirely possible that some of it will survive.
Right.
And if it does, then it becomes a question of then what kind of hardy ass bacteria exist and is able to survive in the Martian climate. And not to mention, to quote Jurassic Park, life does tend to find a way.
Absolutely. Look at the tardigrade. Like the tardigrade is a thing built for space travel. If something's going to get into space, it's going to be the tardigrade or some descendant of it.
Mm-hmm. Shoot. I mean, like there's those water bears, some of the more extreme creatures we have on Earth. I'm quite curious to see would they even be able to survive in such hostile climates.
Yep, that's what it is. Tardigrade, which is sometimes called the space bears,
Mm-hmm.
are the water bears, but they can survive in very harsh conditions. So, okay, cool. Hey, let's round this thing up. I gotta do some more work.
All right. So I want to say to everyone here so far, thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. It's been a real pleasure talking space with you, Deigratia.
Man, thank you so much for having me. And I'm sorry I flipped it up on you.
Well, like I said, Deigratia, let me ask you a quick question. Hey, where can the people find you so they can yell at you and tell you you're wrong about You're wrong about Mars versus Venus.
Yeah. So that's a good point. Chime in on my social medias at Deigratia, on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. You can just search Deigratia, Deigratia. I usually come up in most searches the first time, or the top of the searches. And let me know. Do you think humans will go to Mars first or Venus first? Let me know. Holler back at me.
Mm-hmm.
Chane, how do we find you, buddy?
And if you guys want to agree with the person on the right here, you can find that person at Chane Grant at Facebook. You can find me on LinkedIn at Chane Grant, ChanGrent. You can also see me at the local observatory trying to talk to a bunch of scientists and explain to them why they need to be focusing on the red planet and not the gold one. I think my friend Deigratia has just been blinded by the light.
Hey, do the simple one first. That's all I'm
saying. Simple, all right. That's easy enough to say, right? Simple.
Hey, no, thank you, and don't forget to follow us. We do this every 2 weeks. We'll come sign up at our Singularity University Atlanta chapter. Just Google Singularity University Atlanta. We'll come right up in your search and join us. And so you'll see some of the other amazing things that we're doing with Singularity University. That's all I got, Chane.
All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for joining us, and we will see you guys next time.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Adios.
All right. Stopping the streams. It's like it doesn't let me scroll down on that page. It's the weirdest thing.
I would say that was good talk, D. Good talk.
Always, man. It's great chatting with you.
As always.
Starting spot. Let me go here. Where are you? Windows. Okay. Where's the splash doing? Yes, it's not allowing me to scroll on the other window.